Hello, soul friends. My parts of consciousness and I are just waking up, but we wanted to share something with you. We're kind of starting to explore our memory systems together and learn about the experiences that other aspects of our consciousness have had. And something connected the dots really well. Traumatic sensations, compulsions, urges, anxious thoughts that can lead to panic attacks, etc. All of these types of thought trains that are in the subconscious neural pathways and the traumatic stress that's trapped in our physical body, none of it can be healed, rerouted, or rewired until we find a way to establish complete presence with it. And so practicing presence is really a core component of any kind of healing journey, especially for trauma, but truly for any kind of mental health, healing exploration. Only when there can be 100% conscious presence with these things that are happening, like traumatic stress, can there be rerouting. Until then, there's only going to be reliving. And I got this to some degree, but I thought that reliving was just part of healing because that's what all the trauma therapies had led me through. I just thought that was part of the process. There's no getting around that. But that's not actually the truth. There's challenges and there's toughness and there's pains, but reliving the trauma is not required to heal. And if you are reliving trauma while trying to heal, then there simply needs to be more practicing of presence and less exploring traumatic stress. Only when there can be 100% conscious presence, where you can sustain presence in the here and now, where you can observe without becoming the experience. You can observe the experience over here as your present day self without becoming the past experience. Only when that can happen can trauma be healed. And so a huge portion of the healing journey is practicing presence and finding ways to increase conscious presence moment by moment, day by day, breath by breath. Establishing deeper presence with the present day sensations is the core component for any kind of healing journey, especially for trauma recovery. And so this is important because a lot of therapies really practice exploring the traumatic stress without first prioritizing making sure that warrior clients can be fully in the present moment. Being partially in the present moment is not enough to dive into trauma, because then there will be reliving. And when you're reliving, you're making the pathways stronger in the brain and in the body. The traumatic stress is winning and growing when it's being relived. And most of the time, this happens beyond our control. Most of the time, it's coming up and we're just trying to cope with it, right? Like, there's no, oh, I'm just going to not go there. Like a lot of times, there's not a choice. But if therapy is encouraging exploring the traumatic stress in a way that reactivates it rather than helping you observe it without re-experiencing it, then there simply needs to be a more extensive time of practicing presence. Daily mindfulness, daily meditation, daily rituals, the first thing when you wake up in the morning, the last thing before you go to bed at night. Affirmations, mirror meditations, speaking to yourself while you look in your eyes, singing to yourself, holding yourself, practicing presence, taking yourselves on beautiful walks, and just learning to enjoy your own company. That is going to be more productive for healing than exploring the traumatic stress. I guarantee you. I guarantee it. We healed ourselves from 22 years of traumatic stress by practicing presence. And when the traumatic stress would come up, we would practice presence. We would never intentionally explore the trauma, and we would never stay there if we could help it. Sometimes it was days and weeks of just being in flashbacks. But in that time, even, the goal was practicing presence, practicing self-love, practicing self-care. And that's how we made it through that without the trauma winning, without the traumatic stress winning and growing. And so anytime something is being relived, the neural pathways in our brain-body system are growing instead of shrinking. But if we can establish presence, then when we experience the activations, we observe and choose a different response. That's where we're starting to rewire and reroute these automatic sensations. Practicing presence, learning to become an observer of our sensations is the core component of any healing journey. Being able to observe panic attacks without panicking during the panic attack is how you heal panic attacks. Speaking from extensive experience, we used to have crippling panic attacks, like could not breathe, felt like we were having a heart attack, took hours to recover from one. Sometimes they would last a whole hour. It was terrifying. But we practiced presence, and they slowly started to get smaller, not in intensity, but like we recovered quicker, and then they started to last less long, not as long, and then the intensity went down. But this was practicing presence every day through every panic attack for months. So it's tough, but it's worth it because it is the way. It produces the healing results. I could have spent years in different therapies and stuff or on different medications and never gotten better. But confronting the darkness through presence and love completely rewired the parts of my brain that were causing the pain. It's worth it. It's super worth it. And then you know that you have power, you have power through it when you can practice presence. So healing panic attacks, practicing presence. Healing night terrors, practicing presence. When you wake up from a night terror, instead of trying to force yourself to go back to sleep or trying to, escape into something, or instead of trying to, just criticize yourself for having these nightmares and not being able to sleep, practice presence. How can you be fully in the moment? Go outside, sit in the cold, look at the stars. Hug yourself, hold yourself, rock back and forth. Nurture yourself into presence. And then you start to heal the core things in the brain that are causing the battles to begin with. Healing is about practicing presence. You can heal panic attacks. You can heal night terrors. Insomnia, practicing presence. When we can't sleep, a lot of the times it's because there's all this stuff going on inside of us. But if we practice presence and focus on an intention of sleep, we can gradually rewire our brain so that it knows that nighttime is for sleeping and we're safe to sleep. It takes time. It does. It takes everyday effort. It's an everyday healing journey of life. It's not I'm going to practice presence once a week. It's I'm practicing presence because I'm worth it. There is no set time or day. I am practicing presence, period, end of story. Any moment I get, every moment I'm in. And that's really where our power is. We have power in our presence. It's when the brain is in the past stuff or in the future stuff that we lose our power. But right here, right now, there is always power. Always power. And so, insomnia, practice presence. Not practicing presence feeding the thoughts, but practicing presence observing the thoughts. Sit in a little meditation boat in your mind's eye and watch the thoughts and feelings and conversations in your mind float by alongside your boat in this stream of consciousness. And notice them and let them go. And breathe and notice them and let them go. We have guided meditations about this kind of stuff in our consciousness consulting services. It's awesome. Practicing presence heals consciousness. Practicing presence can help with age regression. Because a lot of time when we age regress, it's scary and we have a hard time coping with it or sustaining an ability to observe it from an adult's perspective as a child part comes forward in the consciousness. If we practice presence, We start to grow our cognitive capacities of consciousness so we can be present with this child part of consciousness who experiences age regression. And then we get to hang out together and heal together. And healing doesn't mean that they disappear. It means that they grow and they start to let go of the fear and the pain, and they start to enjoy being present. And you start to enjoy them being present instead of being afraid of the age regressive experience or dreading it or not knowing how to handle it. So, insomnia, night terrors, panic attacks, age regression, traumatic stress, compulsions. When there's a compulsion, obsessive thoughts, compulsion, whether they're both happening or only one of them's happening, we can heal that through presence. Because when we grow the ability to be present as an observer, we grow the capacity to choose a different response. And when we choose a different response, we change our brain wiring. Our brain wiring stays the same because we're giving into these automatic sensations. And it happens because it's all happening beyond our conscious awareness. It's all happening unconsciously. And it's so sensational that we become consumed by it. But once we practice presence, we bring the unconscious into our awareness and grow the ability to choose a response rather than being subjected to the automated reaction. And the moment we do that, we plant energetic seeds that rewire our brain-body system, transform and heal our consciousness from the inside out, and allow us to reclaim and harness our personal power. It is so worth the effort. And you are more worth it than you know, I promise you. I felt like such a waste of space for so long because all I could do was drown in my own consciousness every day. And I was miserable and I couldn't do anything in the outside world to contribute. And I felt like such a waste of space. But that was never the truth of who I was. So I promise you, no matter how you're feeling, your feelings don't define you and you are worth it. This is a promise and a guarantee from my heart to yours. You're worth it. And you can show to your parts of consciousness, these hurting aspects of your inner being, that you are worth it, even if you don't believe it. You can show it, you can know it, you can prove it, you can demonstrate it, you can take action upon it. You can create that reality by caring for yourself through self-love, self-care, and unconditional presence. And when you do that, you transform the wiring in your consciousness. You reroute the automated sensations in the body. You reprogram the automated responses in the mind through the brain. And your whole perspective and experience of life can become more beautiful. So no matter where you're at with your everyday healing journey of life, no matter what struggles you face, no matter the difficulties going on, no matter what things look like, just know that you can always heal by loving yourself a little deeper, going that extra mile to care for yourself a little more authentically, and choosing to practice presence along your everyday healing journey of life. I love you all so much. I am sending you so much love and light. I believe in you. I truly do believe in you. Namaste, soul friends. The courageous warrior light in me sees and honors the courageous warrior light in you. Blessings, soul friend, and do be sure to give this little video a like and hit the subscribe button and check out our links below. All the interaction really supports what we're doing here, really fuels our mission forward, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for interacting with our content and being a part of healing world change just by showing up as you. You are enough, and we love you.